We are back and ready for our first match of the day, and it is going to be a good one. Bunnyhoppor versus Jarla. I think just as we touched on a little bit yesterday, actually, with Jarla's Grandmasters win rate being the best, I think arguably just two of the best players, at least two of the best players in Europe right now, is going to be nice to see them clash. It's going to be a Division A match, so both these players are looking to be fairly safe and looking to be pretty confidently booking a spot in the playoffs. Bunnyhoppor a little bit further down in the division than Jarla is right now, but still looking fairly good so far. We are going to see the good old-fashioned double warrior bands off.
Raven, I got you, fam. They are both guaranteed for playoffs in their current positions. As I mentioned earlier, Jarla can still play it out to guarantee one of those top two spots, which matters a little bit for seeding. With him, Swids and Ball Control kind of battling it out for those spots, as far as I understand it. But yeah, this is, as close to an exhibition while still being, far removed from it as we're going to get throughout the next couple of days, because the matches are all extremely important with varying degrees. And as I mentioned, there are still some things on the line, but they at least have that little security blanket of knowing that they are both locked in for playoffs at least.
Yep, and that's the difference as well, just from that cushion of getting in Division A, which was earned through 3 weeks of Swiss tournaments within each region. So it's not like these players just, let's randomly put these in Division A and B. They did get placed if you just tune into Grandmasters maybe for the round robin or just late the last couple of weeks. There were full 3 weeks of 3 separate Swiss tournaments, and their performances basically got added up, and then they got split in half. Division A, Division B. Division B much scarier as it has auto-relegation spots. Division A, not so much. But zooming back in on this matchup, Bunnyhoppor versus Jarla. You know me, Sol, and again, you said Hunter was the easiest deck to play. It's also the one with the highest win rate as well. So for me, that just sounds like a deck you should bring to a tournament. So I actually really like the Hunter brings, whether you think it's laughably easy or not. Well, with the mistakes we've been seeing, Sol, maybe the players do need an easy deck or two. So Bunnyhoppor there bringing that Highland Hunter and having, of course, Demon Hunter, and then this Rogue Sottle, which has been having some success not only in Grandmasters, but on ladder, as I've seen a few players hit rank 1 with this almost, I won't say a new innovation like it's never been done before, but recent recalling of the questing adventurer back in Rogue right now.
Yeah, that's right. I know Casey has been, tweeting and retweeting and linking just about every little nugget of success that any player has had with this Rogue deck up until this point, as he is wont to do. When Casey is on his Rogue grind, you're going to hear about it, because he loves it when Rogue is successful. But yeah, no surprise to see Bunnyhoppor rocking that version as well, with the questing adventurers coming in. But from Jarla's side, we do have that quest Warlock, which is a big question mark. The deck that, yes, I called the best deck in Standard during Hot Takes, although I would like to add the disclaimer that Hot Takes is for entertainment purposes only, and the views expressed in that show do not necessarily represent the views of either myself or TJ Sanders.
Okay, well, if that's allowed, then I'm just going to say this whole show is an entertainment show, and anything I say doesn't necessarily mean I mean it. So all my opinions about the game that get called wrong might just be me being entertaining. Who knows? And if that's a rule, I'm going to use that one to my advantage as well. But overall, Quest Warlock has been struggling. I believe it's effectively 10-20 this weekend, so 10 wins, 20 losses overall. So it has been taking a beating. And again, this is the lineup from Bunnyhoppor that I think is one of the lineups that will make Warlock struggle to get a victory. Demon Hunter, in my view, a rough matchup. Highlander Hunter, a rough matchup. Rogue, I think, with the questings, makes the matchup a lot harder, because there are more big threats for Warlock to deal with. And this Warlock does not run Plague of Flames. They have to do it the old-fashioned way and hard remove your minions with actual damage spells. Just saying 1 mana, go away. Crazy.
And Jarla is going to get right to it here. The Quest Warlock is going to run into that Rogue. And it's interesting the way that the dynamic has shifted just because of the inclusion of those questing adventurers, because this was honestly one of the matchups where I think most players were pretty happy to be queuing Warlock for large periods of last week. And then all of a sudden the Rogues went, just kidding. I'm just going to put these 2 extra threats in my deck. And now you're unfavored again. It's been feeling pretty miserable just having that extra power come down. We've seen it happen across both Europe and Americas so far.
Yeah, and as I mentioned earlier, the players don't get a lot of time to prep, honestly, considering how important these matches are. So the players who have brought in this questing adventure in Rogue seem to have had just the ultimate call/read on how useful they're going to be, because they've paid off, Sol. Even just from what I've seen so far this weekend, never mind talking about ladder or anything like that, but just in Grandmasters, I think I've seen Rogue and the Questing specifically get some work done. We'll see if they pay off once again today. Bunnyhoppor is going to be running that secret package along with the Questings. But he is just running the 2 ambush, 2 dirty tricks. Unfortunately, it's the bamboozle that took the hit. Because the space has to be made somewhere to fit in this questing.
Yeah, I'm sure you are delighted to see no bamboozle.
I would have cut the devoted maniac before I cut the bamboozle.
Actually,
hello, mate.
Maybe you've got a point there.
See? I knew I'd get you on board with that. I knew it. I was like, what's one card Subtle won't fight me on if I say I want to play bamboozle?
Yeah. Freaking devoted maniac. The card sucks.
It's in hand for Bunnyhoppor.
Interesting list from Jarla. I believe this is the same list that Huntrace will be playing later on as well, which is no great surprise. They are teammates and long-standing practice partners. They've been in sync in bringing Galakron Warlock up until this point, so no great surprise. They're on the same stuff with the Questlock as well. Its difference is it's 1 Soulfire. There's generally one of being played in this deck from most players to make room for an additional Acidic Swampoos as a tech card. Some players have made it the Questing Explorer, some players have made it the Abyssal Summoner, whereas in this case with Jarla and Huntrace, they've gone down to 1 Soulfire instead to make room for that extra card.
Yeah, and honestly, I still don't really know which one I like the best, or which card I like the best, because there's good merit for all of them. Like, the Abyssal Summoner sometimes just carries games, but it is a 6-drop that doesn't do any healing or anything, right? That's and against aggro, it's definitely not always a 9/9 or an 8/8, right? You look at sometimes 5/5s, or if you Tyler a 3/3 at certain points in the game. So I again, I think that it's going to be difficult to work out what the final build of this list looks like, especially if we're going to see continual changes in the meta and into the builds. Like suddenly, if Quest Adventurer is just a problem, you then have to tech elsewhere to try and beat the Questings.
Yeah. Also, can we just be on Questing Explorer, Questing Adventurer watch for the entirety of this day? Because I'm pretty sure I've just already got it wrong at least once.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think I've got it right, because I'm going to choose to only ever talk about one of them. How about that?
All right, fair
You
enough.
only talk about Quest Explorers, and I'll only talk about Quest Adventurers.
All right, deal.
Okay. Jeez. In the meantime, though, Jarla, now, as I mentioned earlier, because Bunnyhoppor's only running the 2 different secrets, Jarla will know exactly what the 2 secrets are. Knows he doesn't have to worry about bamboozle at all, unless there's, like, weird generation of secrets later in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Jarla's going to get a heck of a plot twist off as well.
He is, yeah, and this is a pretty low-pressure start, honestly, from Bunny, but that's not really the worst thing in the world for this rogue deck. Their pressure just can come all at once in a way that is completely resistant to every removal that isn't Twisting Nether that the Warlock can play at them, and they can generally do that 2 or 3 times over the course of the game, so it does become a pretty big problem for the Warlock.
And it's also the nature of the beast, right? Because Bunnyhoppor isn't playing the stealth version, so it's not running an aggressive 1-drop. It's not running a consistent 2-drop into even just the 3-mana 3/3 of the Sage, right? Like those become kind of aggressive cards because you just beat them in the early game. Those don't exist for Bunnyhoppor. He has the Pharaoh Cat, he has Blackjack Stunner as 1-drops, Secrets and Hanar. And of course the ever-present Van Cleef, but that's it. There's no early minions that actually deal too much damage, really. So I think this was going to happen a lot of the time anyway.
Yeah, the nature of the beast would be huge in this matchup. Imagine just a 9/7 on curve. Oh, it'd be nuts against Warlock.
Just drop it out. You're like, wait, why is he running this? It's my tech against Quest Warlock.
Yeah.
Does now have, because those secrets got procced as well, he can Hanar and proc and go for a secret and even bounce the Blackjack Stunner.
So many
bounce with the Blackjack Stunner, sorry. That would cause Jarla to overdraw as well. it too crazy thinking bouncing that card is good?
Probably. Your opponent plays like 9/9 taunts in their deck, 2 copies, right? Like that seems like a much better target to be jamming back into their hand because they don't get to pay 6 for it again. They have to pay the full cost plus 1 when the taunt goes back to their hands. It's such a premium target to be hitting in the matchup, I think.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. I'm just thinking that for me, it's the only like target that you would rather hit as opposed to like a tempo target, right? Because everything else, you don't really want to bounce. Like, you don't want to bounce a Moarg back to them. You don't want to bounce particularly a Netherwing back to them.
No, I mean you can still get situations where, like generally, the Warlock will reach late game. In this matchup, it's not going to be something that you can end super quickly as the Rogue, especially when one plot twist has already happened. So even if you're not going to be hitting the giant Abyssal Taunts, you can still have that emergency for like they tap into 0-cost Alex and just jam Alex on your face. You can just smash that back into their hand with Blackjack Stunner. Like I think it has quite a few relevant uses in the matchup.
Big deal though now. Post nerf Stunner means that Alex is still playable after the bounce, right? Which is huge. Because look at this deck: Malygos, Dragon Queen Alexstrasza, normal Alexstrasza. Any of those that used to get stunned, they're just out of the game.
Right.
Whereas now, still playable. Big deal.
Dark Skies for Jarla, very important. One of the sort of low-key tricky things about this matchup is that it's very hard, because you never have minions on board that are fighting, it's very hard to block lackeys from being in play every turn, because every time you want to do that, you have to play a removal spell, essentially. So there's actually a lot of situations you can get in where it's like, well, you know, I could cast Rain of Fire here, or I could cast Dark Skies here. But the only reason I'm doing it is to kill those lackeys so I don't get togwaggled on curve, which just seems really stupid, and you feel like you have to run the risk a lot of the time. And of course they just have it and you lose. So Jarla there at least have the, let's call it a luxury, of being able to cast Dark Skies to clear up the lackey board, while actually hitting a relevant amount of other minions as well.
Also as well, I was considering there for Bunnyhoppor whether he could just get down a very nice Krunk. Doesn't die to a plain Nether Breath. It's against an empty board, challenges the Abyssal pretty well, but also there is just a stun for the Abyssal anyway. But I will say, one, Bunnyhoppor, of course, setting up for that Togwaggle you mentioned. And also, if you can get Krunks post Galakrond, then suddenly you've got some of that finisher damage that Rogue wants, right? Whether it's 5 just to face or an AoE buff that we've seen countless times. So I do think that keeping hold of it, because as you mentioned, the game's probably going to go on for a little bit longer, it's fairly safe.
And we've seen how powerful the pop-off turns can be with this deck when you have both Headwinds and Questings in your deck, so getting one down nice and early just does seem like the way to go.
Yeah, is anything going to top the ultimate wand from yesterday, though?
It's a tough one to beat, for sure. Jarla just choosing to play removal on his turn, which I respect. Doesn't feel like he needs to get too greedy with the healing. He's very, very comfortable in his position right now, and very soon, in fact next turn, he's going to have Quest activated, which means he doesn't even have to pay health for life taps at this point, which means 30 health here is probably just fine to be playing with, and he can just use the Moarg Nether Breath as removal for an annoying target on the board as he did.
Bunnyhoppor going for the wand, not too much of a surprise at all. And kind of interested as well that both players are about to going to go for their big turns kind of at the same time, actually. With the help of the plot twist earlier on, Jarla's got his quest relatively early, which means he's going to be able to start tapping, obviously, for zeros. But also, it's going into the turn Bunnyhopper's going to wand as well. So the game's just about to explode from both sides of the board, although Jarla would really like a plot twist again. Just because he's got just 2 of the big dragons in there. He doesn't particularly need the Caladan in hand right now.
Right.
Kind of awkward. And this is one of the... Sorry, go on.
It's also just an awkward turn right now, because it's very hard to fit in a life tap and play a relevant card here. Like, obviously, Netherwing clears up the board really nicely. But you can't Netherwing tap or you go straight back to 10 cards again. Alright, fine. He's just going to do it. Just going to take the burn then? you want to throw away a Rain of Fire. It does damage your 5/5, which I guess is actually a positive a lot of the time against Rogue.
Yeah, and he isn't going to... because he has a lot of the big cards in his hand, there's not a lot of absolutely back-breaking burns.
Right.
So there are ways he could just afford to burn that. I guess the worst one maybe would be a plot twist if he burns the second one.
Yeah, Alex Straza or the plot twist are probably the worst two in that situation. It's so difficult, right, though, because discounting burn to 0 is actually super valuable. Especially, so for Jarla is on coin this game. I believe the coin is currently in his deck, which means he can burst down 20, which is the number he's probably going to need to do, because that's the 15 he can Alex his opponent to, plus the 5 armor from the Galacrond. He can deal 20 with 1 0-cost card, because he has the coin for 2 other 1-cost cards to be played even alongside a 9-mana Malagos.
Are you ready, Sol? Hold on. This is going to be a turn. Again, Bunnyhoppor playing this prep like we saw yesterday as well. Making use of it with these secrets. Getting a secret there for 0 mana. Emptying some of his hand to give room for this wand. But, oh, if he gets Van Cleef, we want an awfully large boy. But it's getting more and more likely there is just Caladan and is going to twist in Nether turn. So it's not exactly like Van Cleef's going to just win Bunnyhoppor the game. He's not even going to go for the one. He's going to go for the full secret package along with the bounce.
Bounce and the burn, yeah.
Too many cars.
Nice.
I actually think that is a good burn, isn't it?
Good burn for Bunny? Yeah, it is.
Yes, yeah, for Bunny. Yeah.
Yep.
Because, like, again, the craziest things happen when you hit burn or the Malagos.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Alex Straza. With the live tap. And if that doesn't happen, then suddenly, like, Malagos, Rain of Fire, coin, Soulfire with just natural versions is so much extra damage that you can't often really play around while that coin's knocking about. But having that coin just gone, it just really narrows down the potential damage outputs or the likelihood of Jarla being able to burst high.
Yeah, it's exactly what I was saying on the previous turn, right? Where if Bunny goes to 20, which is where he's going to get to with getting Alex Straza and then plus a Galacrond, that's just, Malagos, Rain of Fire, 0-cost Rain of Fire, coin Soulfire at the end. That will deal that 21 that you need to be able to cover the 20s. But without that coin, things get a lot more difficult. With a 0-mana Alex Straza, things get a lot more simple.
I bring
Never Surrender is going to block this one, I believe. Yep, there it goes. Oh, and the pressure plate as well. I got some questions about that turn.
Rushed
Yes.
is the word I was thinking of.
Yes.
Not only was there the Never Surrender, but also Jarla, I think, was certain that the ambush was going to come down as well.
Right.
And don't get me wrong, I think the Alex just to put him to 15 is good.
Yeah.
But I think there could have maybe been something else there to make that a little bit smoother.
Yeah, agreed. We've all done it. Hanar is a nightmare. I believe Abar has spectated a game where I've played a turn equally badly to that the other night against Hanar. It just happens. It's going to take time before we're all comfortable with the, mysterious challenger plus an order of magnitude level of complexity that comes from these Hanar turns.
And even then, I think there are outcomes where you do just have to sort of stumble through it just to get them procced and out the way, even if it's kind of bad, because at least they're gone. Or at least that would be the plan if Hanar wasn't because of the Never Surrender.
choose soon.
Good thing as well for Bunnyhoppor is if he bounces this Alex, it is not playable next turn. Jarla's still only going to be on 9 mana and it will cost 10.
Yeah, I think whether it costs 9 or 10, it's never going to get played back down into this board state, right? This needs to be answered.
Right. So what, 5, 7, 8 power, 8 health, sorry, on board.
One Abyssal Summoner away from that Zephrys being activated, I believe. Currently there is a Netherwind Portal and a Redemption remaining for the secrets from Bunnyhoppor.
I wonder if...
Which means Dark Skies Rain of Fire does good business here.
Ooh. See the outcomes. This could be quite annoying.
Nice. Yep, good ordering.
Okay, low health. You'd have to check for that counter spell, of course, and Dark Skies does more work than the Rain of Fire.
Yeah, and even if it is near the Wind Portal, obviously he had the damage covered. It would need to be a very big 4-drop there to be pressuring him out of the Dark Skies position. There was also a chance that it was just never surrender again, in which case playing Dark Skies first is a disaster because you wasted a premium card for not a clear. So I think, after last turn, which was sketchy, that was a much better played secret turn from Jarla.
And that plot twist just insane. Put the dragons back in the deck and didn't redraw any of them.
It's pretty good, for sure.
Gets the two abyssals out. I'm not sure if there's any doubles now left in the deck, but
Right.
I think the abyssals probably were
Dark in the
one of the few doubles left in the game, right? Oh.
I will act as your scale dragon.
Now, post Galacrond, Big Claw equipped, and a ton of stuff for Bunnyhoppor to do here. Also, does have Shadow Step, does have the Crunks. And we've seen, how many? I feel like it's just a given now that we see Crunk Shadow Step to win games with Road.
Oh, up to no good. Me too. Don't let the door hit you.
Interesting play there. Going to bounce the Quest Explorer in a roundabout way. It gives Jarla a better Abyssal Summoner. But I think at this point, if Jarla plays an Abyssal Summoner and doesn't do much else, then Bunnyhoppor's probably okay with that because he'll win the game.
Sure.
So, not really too much of a punish.
This now will activate the Zephyrus, the Sense Demon's draw, because there are 2 Brood Mothers left remaining. I think that's now the only duplicate after the plot twist. And he's guaranteed to draw at least one of them. Does mean he then only has, 6 remaining for a Zephyrus spell after the fact. Can even ask the question about whether this is an appropriate board for Zephyrus to react to with the amount of threats that you still have left to come down.
Yeah. Could just be this into the Abyssal, honestly.
Look what I brought.
Yeah, gets the use down as well. Too smart.
That's just going to be game. Because you can Crunks, you can Shadow Step, you can Crunks. As we mentioned right early on, just holding this Crunks for this burst damage because a weakness of Quest Warlock is that they can't keep clearing boards, right? They do run out of clears relatively quickly, and as you mentioned, with a lot of lackeys and just like bits and bobs starting around on the board that Rogue does pretty consistently, means that at some point Jarla and the Quest Warlock in general just has to say, okay, you can have this board for a turn because it's not representing a lot of damage. Obviously, Crunk, Shadow Step, Crunks changes how much damage is there, and you can't play around that every single turn of the game. So, pretty crazy one overall, but again, we just see Rogue do a pretty good job against Quest Warlock.
Yeah, I'm curious how important that decision with the zero-cost Rain of Fire that Jarla chose to throw away could have ended up being. Because remember, he's playing a burst light version of the deck. He's cut 1 Soulfire, so his chances of redrawing Burn to be able to end the game with Mali after the zero-cost Alex came down were actually pretty slim. In the exact scenario that we saw, I don't think any difference would have been made apart from the Crazed Netherwing that got bounced would have died immediately as opposed to just being bounced back to hand because the hand was already full. And then the coin still would have got burned right off the top, which to my mind was kind of crucial to my game plan of hanging on to the zero cost Rain of Fire, because then you could use that coin later to get some full burst combo in that would deal 20 plus to the rogue. So in this exact situation, I don't think it changed anything, but I'm wondering, as an overall average game of Hearthstone, whether having the zero cost burn when you had 9 cost Mali in hand already would have been perhaps higher win rate in the scenario. I'm not sure.
And there was also the point where that Hanar turn just completely obliterated the Alex, right? Alex was 0 mana, but then the play just ended up, it just got farmed and caused, I think, honestly, caused Jarla more problems than the Alex even solved at that point, even though it did, of course, get his battle cry off. But pretty crazy game number 1 here for the day. Quest Warlock struggling. Maybe that's going to continue for the rest of the day and the rest of the weekend. We'll have to find out. But for now, we are going to go to a break while we get game 2 set up. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with some more Hearthstone.
If you could give me something from the answers, that would really help me out,
Oh.
Whenever you're ready.
Welcome, everybody. My name is Sotul, joined by Kalento. I'm sure this is going to be an incredibly insightful interview. Got tons of just incredible questions here provided to me by the production team. I'm sure we're going to get a lot of information out of my friend here. So Kalento, what is your happiest Hearthstone memory?
Probably Y-Game House Cup, I guess.
Great, I'm presuming you won that?
Of course.
So just soldier on through. When did you start playing Hearthstone? Wonderful, really learning a lot right now. What's your favorite part about Hearthstone?
I like how I can be asked dumb questions when I'm being interviewed.
Yep, expected. Who is your favorite Hearthstone caster?
Probably not you.
Really? Do you really want me to... All right, we're gonna get through this. Who is your best friend in Hearthstone? Any positivity? Can you pick one that you do like?
No.
We are back to continue our match 1 of the day between Bunnyhoppor and Jarla. Jarla taking a loss with that Quest Warlock to just join that crew of the people who are crying over that deck right now because it might have been overhyped, at least based on the results we've seen this weekend. But Bunnyhoppor taking away with that rogue with those questing adventurers in there as well, getting the work done. But that does mean we've got plenty more games, not only of this series, but of today left, as we're going to have our full 5 matches today. But yeah, checking this out now, Bunnyhoppor has his Demon Hunter and Hunter left over to take down Jarla, and I think he should be feeling quite confident.
He certainly should be, yeah. I think he's in a pretty comfortable position, even just against the Quest Warlock. I don't think the Demon Hunter matchup is bad by any stretch of the imagination. We saw at the top of the show going into this week, it had a positive win rate in that matchup, the Quest Warlock did. I think that has swung, certainly, because we've been seeing Demon Hunters win this week across all regions. So it's certainly swung back towards 50-50, if not now Demon Hunter favored overall. But I think the matchup is certainly winnable from the Quest Warlock side, but it's still a very competitive matchup. And then, of course, the Highlander Hunter is certainly at least a slight favorite against that Quest Warlock. So no great surprise, to me at least, to be seeing Jarla going to the well with something just a little bit different for at least one game here.
Yeah, we're going to be looking in that Demon Hunter and going up against Bunnyhoppor's Hunter list, which, again, just giving a quick checkaroo. And no secret package, which is approved by myself, and one Grand Slam. So yeah, we're looking good here for Bunnyhoppor's Highlander Hunter. But overall, honestly, just a fairly straightforward list. In Prison Felmore is a pretty nice addition that's becoming more and more just straight up standard right now. Even with the addition of some extra 2-drops to fill out, because Bunnyhopper is not only playing the Prison Felmore, but also playing the Bone Chewer Brawler, as well as a few other cards. So definitely a focus on this early game. Here with the Scale Rider too, so tons of early game, but still plenty of late game to keep up with some of the slower deck. So looking pretty good here for Bunnyhoppor, but he will have to prioritize clearing off any early aggression here from Jarla, because Demon Hunter is by no means a pushover matchup here for the...
Yeah, and by no means the worst start for Bunny. I picked up tracking to fill out the curve even more, but he at least has a hand that can just remove a thing on 2 and then start developing on 3. And we've seen these Primordial Explorers be very annoying against all the 1-1s and 2-2s that Demon Hunter wants to develop in the early game, especially if they're looking to land beaming sidekicks, which of course Primordial Explorer just does not care about at all.
Yeah, and looking now for this tracking, Scavengers is available, and to me looks like the pick, but there are merits for some of the other cards, right? The Boom Pistol going into turn 5, not Playbound potentially as well, which is a really nice swing. But for me, just having Scavengers draw next turn into a 3-drop, although there is already the Primordial Explorer, it either draws your Zigzaw or it will draw the Griffin that will then draw your Zigzaw. So for me, it's always hard to turn down that much card draw that basically comes from one card in Highlander Hunter. But Bunnyhoppor did choose to go for that Boom Pistol to maybe bridge the gap more with having a 5-drop ability.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? Because to that point, Scavenger's Ingenuity is actually also a 5-drop when you really stop and think about it, because you just play it on turn 5 and play the 3-drop that you drew at the same time. So I can certainly see the curve working out the same way regardless. But as you said, Boom Pistol Bully actually can be surprisingly effective in this matchup against some pretty key Battlecry minions, primarily the Gladebound Adept you were talking about.
Demons?
Yeah, and that's the difference, right? You either, with those choices, it's either you go for the Lockout card, i.e. Boom Pistol Bully, or you go for the Scavengers to draw more cards and have a few more flexible removal tools, which is effectively what the Griffin and the...
Time grows short. I grow
Jarla, pretty tough decision here about whether this attack goes through or not with the second Umberwing in hand. He doesn't have any attack payoff card in his hand. No Satyr Overseer, no Gladebound Adept. But he does have a second Umberwing, and yet he's still choosing to hold on to his swing here, which I think just goes to show how much both of these players are just valuing board control right now over face damage.
That's it. I don't think you can race in this matchup, because the race is most of the time all about the minions anyway.
Right.
So I think prioritizing board control, at least for now, is important. Because also, Jarla has Skull of Gul'dan in hand, so he can draw cards. He can go into a bit more of a late game scenario, and maybe a lot more smoothly than the Highlander Hunter does regularly. So I think this is okay. Just hold it, see what's what for the next couple of turns.
It's certainly very smooth the way this has worked out. If you're expecting your opponent's play to be Primordial Explorer some of the time on turn 3, Chaos Strike just allows you to smoke that thing no problem. And then if you're playing Chaos Strike, you're then getting multiple draws towards Gladebound Adept, which you can then coin out on turn 4, as long as you have that second charge of the weapon still equipped. So the way Jarla chose to play it is certainly being rewarded here.
Demons? Demons.
Yeah, like the other way round to gain is if he swung last turn, then he can hero power swing again and then re-equip the Umberwing.
Sure.
To just go
I grow
to
impatient.
stay in full control on board.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and he's going to do it.
Yeah, I think, plans could have changed here because he's already drawn the Gladebound Adept. I think the reason I was talking about the Chaos Strike line is because it gives you those extra card draws towards one of your big 5-cost power plays, which you do want to be playing as early as possible. But since Jarla already has it, going as wide as possible on board is actually pretty smart here, because it shuts down the threat of a Rotnest Drake on the other side when your big minion does come down.
Yeah, and I think it's important as well that there is still that gap to be able to play Chaos Strike to get it out of the way for Skull of Gul'dan to be active a little bit later on. Because again, just with the way the hand's kind of happening, it means that the Jarla will probably want to Skull almost on curve in this game. But because he can coin out Gladebound this turn, he can use the turn 5 to actually use the Chaos Strike.
Yeah, he'll have Chaos Strike, Satyr Overseer on that turn if he coins out Gladebound here. Into Skull then. Does seem pretty solid.
Probably wishing he had a Twin Slice, honestly, as well.
You always wish you have a Twin Slice.
Yeah, but
Just
to
like- it's just
guard
like
all
Rogue.
of these minions, right?
Yeah. It's just like Rogue though, like just add a backstab to any hand and it immediately got better. Ooh, okay. It's not that big of a tempo swing with the Zeph though, which I think is generally what you're looking for in this matchup. The alternative is a very sad-looking Faceless Corruptor into the 6/4.
What if you play the Boom anyway? Tough.
How about a move?
I think Zephyrus and this were the only two plays, and yeah, this is sad, but I don't think Zephyrus is doing enough there if you just Shadow of Death or whatever the 6/4 in that position. It's a sad turn, but I think it was a necessary one from Bunny.
Oh, speaking of Twin Slice.
All I see is weakness.
One of the few matchups where actually you'd rather have the Desert Spear over the Stormhammer, as there's just always good targets for it. Whereas sometimes trading in with Stormhammer, you actually want to conserve a little bit more health.
Yeah, sure. This looks like a significantly better Zephyrus swing turn. Allows him to seize the board, at least temporarily, and then curve straight into that Dino Tamer Bran. Gets to pick his poison, 2 damage or 2 healing. Always nice that Zephyrus to give you the choice. He knows he doesn't know everything.
For me, I like the Holy Nova. I think you, with the follow-up that Bunnyhoppor has, I don't think damage is ever going to be a problem. So why not be a little bit safer and take the heal? I know there's always ways, well, if you kill them faster, then you are safer. But does 2 damage to face kill him any faster than when he's playing like Brand, Stormhammer?
I was going to say exactly the opposite. I would take the sort of counter-argument that you presented yourself, where Bunnyhoppor's hand's plan is damage, so take the card that deals damage. Especially when you're seizing board like this, because, I've talked about it a lot, but if Jarla wants to remove this minion, 90% of the time he's removing it via taking that 3 damage, which just starts to then add up very, very quickly.
That's true. I guess outside, I was more thinking outside of exactly I-beams.
Mhm.
It's pretty much setting up for 2 turn anyway. See, because the Brand's such a nightmare.
Is that true?
We'll see how it plays out.
If he's at 21? I'm not sure that's true. You deal 8 one turn, and then realistic expectations, if your crush sticks, you're only dealing 10 on the following turn. I think this does help you set up 2-turn lethal and just prevents your opponent racing you with Metamorphosis, whereas healing doesn't do that. It gives them the whole extra turn, which can be way more extra damage than just the 2 that you've healed for.
Warglaives. You put that straight up to Zephyrus, so he's going to do some damage. puts Jarla down to 16. He does have the Skull of Gul'dan though, to maybe dig him out of the situation, get some of that healing that he does need. It's tough though, right? Like, it always does just look like Bran, but Bran does damage from hand next turn as well. So is this a turn where Bunnyhoppor has to consider going for either Boom Pistol, maybe getting the hammer down, as well as playing the minions? I think it always ends up being Bran anyway, but you start to question it, because 19 with this Battle Fiend and a Warglaive active doesn't feel like tons of help. And like I said, if there is I-beams, then suddenly Bunnyhopper's going to be out of juice.
Yeah, I think to rationalize that play, you have to be able to make a board that you're expecting would stick in a world where your Dino Tamer Bran wouldn't stick. Which I don't think makes any sense, right? I think you just need to have the 8-8 in play because it's the most likely thing to stick anyway.
Yeah. Like I said, I think the Bran always ends up getting played anyway, but I think the payoff for the other plays would be getting the Stormhammer equipped.
Sure.
Is the key. Like, yeah, the minions die to the weapon, but kind of okay.
Sure.
But the Stormhammer's equipped at that point, and then that's just 3 every turn till the end of the game, right? So, again, I do agree that I think it's just Bran anyway.
Yeah.
But there is some level of merit to just consider that that weapon is just live for the rest of the game.
This is actually a pretty strong turn from Jarla. He can Sightless Watcher. He can Twin Slice. He can play his other Battle Fiend. He can then attack the Bran itself to take that off the board, while buffing up that his Battle Fiend on board that can already attack to 5 with the 2 attacks, and then finish off the Crush with an I-Beam after the trade. That's pretty strong in terms of responses to a Dino Tamer Bran. Obviously, you can Hero Power, but it means you don't get the second Battle Fiend down, which is, I just think is a way big enough payoff to be justifying a Twin Slice usage here.
Yeah. Battle Fiend outside of Blade Bound, exactly. Battle Fiend is almost the next threat in the deck, right?
Right.
Because its scaling damage is just uncontrollable.
Right.
Look at that, already a 3-2 to deal with. Yeah, now on 9, he knows Zephyrus is gone, he knows Bran is gone. Ooh, one turn away. This is where it starts to get scary now in the backswing. I'm not sure what Jarla picked for his observer there, Sightless Watcher, sorry. But Altruis was an option. And he does have some cheap cards right now, so maybe he went for the Altruis. Is damage to face as well, so never a bad idea.
Yeah, so he draws Altruis, he plays Altruis, he outcasts Second Slice from the right-hand side. He spent 4. It's 2 damage, Metamorphosis is 3, 8, Hero Power 9, and then Spectral Sight is still playable. So it's up to the gods as to what Spectral Sight draws from that point, having dealt 10 damage total.
And he also has the flexibility to just Spectral Sight before he even plays meta, because it's on the far left.
Right.
We can review the draws first and maybe, just to see, so he does have some flexibility.
Sure. And I'm not even counting the minions that are just in play right now,
Right, yeah. Alpine is going to get traded into, because if Bunnyhoppor doesn't do that now, it's only going to get worse.
Step up!
She's going to go for the Bone Chewer. There is no glaives equipped, so it's likely to tank this minion as it's ever going to be. Demon Hunter has so much removal.
There is that Altruis. So 2, 7, 8, 9, 10 minimum. And yeah, I think he just has guaranteed lethal just with the cards that he has already. I don't think he even needs Spectral Sight to do anything. 1, 2, 7, 8, 9 plus the 3 on board. Am I counting this wrong? I think he just has it, right?
So the Altruis does 3. Right.
No, I am. Yeah, no, I'm counting it wrong. I'm counting the 1 mana for the Hero Power, which he can't do because he has 8 locked up with the Spectral Sight.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
The Altruis kills the minion, so that's 3. But you don't get to clear. So he could. What if he goes face instead? It just has to be a lethal here. Cards look too good. So weird.
Demons?
I mean, you could Spectral Sight first, right? And then you could draw like second Twin Slice again.
What must be done?
Sure.
I think there are ways. Okay, he's gonna forgo and use the double hero power.
Oh,
Life and hope.
Bunny needs help from DQA.
Oh, okay,
That's a 1 in 13 outcome if I've ever seen one, Raven.
agreed. That is 100% right.
Well fought.
That's not going to cut it. Just the Altruist alone is going to be good enough. Bunnyhoppor taking a loss there. Demon Hunter beating down Hunter and evening up this series for Jarla in a very, very close game. Really did come down to the wire there for these players. So looking kind of crazy overall. I think there was a lot to actually talk about in that matchup, honestly. There were a few different ways Jarla could have gone about it. Maybe it would have made it closer. Maybe it would have lost harder. I don't know. But even Bunnyhoppor as well of just potentially getting that weapon equipped instead of going for just the brand. Of course, there was the answer to the brand, which isn't super likely, but it does exist with the help of I-beams. And the fact that the minion alive was a battle fiend that can grow was always something to consider as well. So pretty crazy game.
It was, yeah, and even after that, there was the turn where the Stormhammer did come down and it didn't go face, even though that set up 2-turn lethal. Now, obviously, that was giving more outs to the opponent when they had the second Battle Fiend still remaining on board at that point to just be able to immediately counter lethal you with Metamorphosis, which I think actually just would have happened if he'd have left it up in that position. So I don't think the game state changes. But it was an interesting decision nonetheless because, you know, he just had Stormhammer face plus hero power plus Stormhammer face plus hero power for the 2-turn lethal, even from that position if he wanted to straight up race. But felt secure, I think, with Dragon Queen Alexstrasza in hand, that if he went back to trading, he was going to win over 2 turns with that anyway. But it was just the power of that Altruist turn with the discounted Metamorphosis that just made that completely impossible from Bunnyhoppor's side. But yeah, for sure, really interesting game. Probably one, if we dug down into it, that was incredibly winnable from both sides, which is, you know, probably the best kind of Hearthstone to watch, right? Just seeing where different decisions lead to different paths and different win rates.
Just look at the turn 1 tracking, right? Scavengers wasn't picked. Boom Pistol was picked. Guess what? That card stayed in hand all game. Suddenly, if the turn is Scavengers into the Griffin, well, that kills the Glaybound that was there, right? And doesn't have to use Faceless, and then so, you know, that then unlocks the Zixor, which maybe has an impact. Also, of course, there's a lot of what ifs and whens, but still, just that impact of the tracking into a card that was a 5-drop that never got played. You do have to wind back and say, was Scavengers more playable? Would it have had a bigger impact? Almost certainly, at least knowing the outcome of the game now, because Boom Pistol just didn't get played at all. So pretty crazy overall. It's going to even up the series. It does mean Bunnyhoppor, of course, has his Hunter left over, as well as his own Demon Hunter. But Jarla, for me, and we've said it a lot already this weekend, but I feel like Demon Hunter feels so secure and it will get you a win at some point in the series. Then, yeah, he gets the win with the Demon Hunter now. It's still the Quest Warlock, it's still the Druid. Maybe 2 of the most debated decks in the game right now, and Jarla has them both to get wins with against Demon Hunter. It's still going to be a pretty spicy few games coming up.
It is, yeah. And then the other deck, of course, remaining for Bunny is that Hunter that we just saw previously. I think the Demon Hunter versus Druid matchup is far more miserable than the Quest Warlock matchup from my perspective, but they are both still ones that Demon Hunters will be happy to queue into. Bunnyhoppor will be happy to queue into just about everything if he keeps mulliganing like that. Whoa!
Yes. That is pretty good, I'll say, is my analysis there for that opening hand for Bunnyhoppor. What you want versus Druid as Hunter is maximum aggression. You don't feel a great need for value unless you can't Bran, because it's 7 mana as a late game value card. Value to the face. But outside of that, you're just looking for max aggression and maximum untargetable minions.
Yep.
Fairy Dragon, tick that box, and then Evasive Fey Wing on turn 4 is just perfect. Also, what he wants is Jarla to not get the Glowflies, as that's the real card that can prove some trouble for.
Yeah, and Fungal Fortunes being a big miss here is one of those checkboxes complete for Jarla not having a powerful Glowfly Swarm on turn 5.
Yeah, and it looks to be even more of a problem, right? Because it's Mount Seller but no ramp as well. So it's all looking kind. These are the games Hunter wins in this matchup.
Yep.
To the extent now where I'm honestly thinking,
How curious.
does there have to be a tank a lot of damage with hero power this time?
Sorry, you cut out slightly. Are you what? And you just want to hero power the fairy dragon?
Oh, I think so.
Sure.
Because the biggest problem for now it's you either hero power the fairy dragon
contradictions.
and kill it next turn, or that will just not die this game.
Right.
Because any minion he creates, if you look at, he could play Power of the Wild, Rising Wind, make a minion, challenge it. Not challenge because there's a 2/2 on the board.
Yeah.
And also,
Stand
weakens
aside,
it, of course,
Warlock.
as a weapon. So, if Jarla had the Crystal Power, though, it would be very good because he can ping off the 2/2 and then make the minion.
Right.
Now, the damage just keeps on coming, and even Bunnyhoppor can't rope this turn, right? Stormhammer, whack him in the face.
I was so
Done.
ready for the rope, Raven. I was just so ready. You underestimate this man. He can rope anything.
No, not on that turn. Not on literally the best turn. The unarguably best turn.
But what about Zephyrus Flame Imp, Raven? Was that
No.
not worth thinking about that turn?
No, don't think. That's your problem when you play Hunter. People overthink it. You hit him in the
Ah.
face. Yes, right,
Contradictions.
go, done.
Got it.
I've done this play. I've been playing a lot of Druid the last day or so. I've done this play many times already. Of just going, well, Sarah draws deal 2 to this guy. Done.
Zephyrus
You see-
Fairy Dragon. Let's go.
You see the respect though, right? Because Jarla could have made 2 minions. He could have made 1 minion and taunted it that turn. Pointless. Got to kill the fairy dragon, not only because it's hard to kill, but also because it's now powering the weapon for Bunnyhoppor. I actually think Scavengers looks pretty fine here. There's always a chance that he could go tracking into exactly Coin Feywing, which would be insane, but relatively unlikely.
I wonder.
And if you're not doing that, I'm not sure what you're tracking into, or what you want to really track.
I moves quickly.
Interesting, yeah, because for me, Scavengers into Coin whatever is just more pressure, and that's what Bunnyhoppor wants. So it was just hovering the track in there. I would have been quite surprised.
Yeah, it gives up his
This is just
coin,
better.
which is relevant for a couple of reasons, because coin is immediately more clearing power or more direct damage with Zephyrus to end the game. And if the game does reset somehow with overflows and whatever else, and this gets answered, and it has to go long, then you're in a position where you then still have your coin for your Dragon Queen Alexstrasza potentially. But I am with you. It did look better than tracking, but I was just trying to work out what can you hit off tracking that's playable, powerful, and doesn't cost you that your coin that turn.
Right.
It's not very many things.
Yeah. And also going into the turn that there could have been a Glowfly, you actually Bunnyhoppor just set up lethal if it was just Glowfly.
This is lethal, isn't it? 5 to face, 3 to face with the corrosive
Oh,
breath.
yeah, Soulfire.
Zephyrus Soulfire.
Yep.
Right? 2, 5, 8, 12. Yeah, it's lethal.
You can corrosive breath your own minion, Bunnyhoppor. I'm sure he knows. Although then again, if he knew that quickly, he would have just done it, right? You don't rope lethal.
I moves quickly.
Bunnyhoppor might not be the connoisseur of Hunter,
I wonder.
because the corrosive breath your own minion is something you don't do often, but it does come up a few times.
Rot-row!
Yeah. And the problem is as well, Bunnyhoppor's still looking good, don't get me wrong, but this is time, and Jarla wants time. He has Mount Seller, he has Ironbark. Now he has Bog Beam.
Yeah,
He
doesn't
could
healing,
have
though.
he could have Crystal Powers for all Bunnyhoppor knows.
That's true.
it was. What I mean more is actually a scary lethal to miss, even though it doesn't look like it. There are some lethals that get missed where you're winning by so much that it doesn't actually affect, or it's not extremely unlikely to affect the outcome of the game. But this one, the game could flip. He also can't. Well, okay, he can get it next turn in. Oh wait, he can't get it next turn if he can't hit face, right?
If there's a taunt in the way, no.
Yeah, because he doesn't have the mana.
Sands of time run low.
He has 7. 3 from the breath, 4 from eviscerate is now the top from Zephyrus, but that's just the same amount of damage you had from 1-cost Soulfire on the previous turn.
Tracking kill command was a little bit riskier.
Oh, he can get it with silence. He can get it with silence. Yeah, he still has it. It's fine.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Silence point after hero power. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yep.
Okay, we're dumb as well. It's fine. But yeah, the silence is going to get there. But...
Leave me out of this.
Sorry, very late. But yeah, Bunnyhoppor again does recover. But it was dicey though, because as I mentioned, like there are some lethals that you miss and you were always going to win the game almost no matter what you did.
Yeah.
There are some lethals you miss and you can be punished, and that was close. Because again, imagine a crystal power that turn, right? Like suddenly, it's not lethal, and then the game carries on. And if the game carries on and Druid has a lot of cards, we saw overflow there. All these things are going to cause problems, right? So it was very close and very much unlike Bunnyhoppor, honestly, to miss a fairly straightforward lethal. But still, that means that he is going to go 2-1 up in this series and only have one more game to take a win with, and that is going to be with Demon Hunter. So he's going to be feeling pretty confident because, as you mentioned, Demon Hunter, depending on what you think about in the Warlock matchup, it's at least even. I think even if you think Demon Hunter's not that bad, if you take a good mind of it, it is at least even.
Yep.
And it's good versus Druid, so Bunnyhopper's now in a fantastic spot to actually take the series overall, only needing the one.
He is. This is not the juice, though, in the opening hand, whereas Jarla does land on that Fungal Fortunes, so Bunnyhoppor is going to need some pressure to be able to be hunting down this fast start from Jarla. Because Jarla could end up with an extremely explosive opener here based on that Fungal Fortunes opening. Okay, does find Altruis. It's not a extremely powerful early curve, but it is, at the very least, an answer to one of the big things that you will lose to, which is Glowfly Swarm in the early game.
Right. Yeah, the amount of times we've seen players keep Glowfly, and an odd amount of times I keep seeing exactly Glowfly innovate in mulligans against Demon Hunter. It's so weird. I feel like I've seen it like far more often than it should possibly come on.
Demons?
Yeah, definitely something you are scared of when you are playing Demon Hunter, and now Bunnyhoppor has the choice. 1 mana 1/2 or not. He's going to forego it for the hero power.
Interesting. Do you think that 1/2 represents a lot of damage over the course of the game if he plays it down now? Very slow start from Bunny here.
It is, but he does have that backup, right? As we mentioned, like he has arguably like the one card that recovers the worst case on a turn 4 or 5. If he can get some cards that work.
Yeah, but you don't really want to use it as a recovery. Like you want to just be playing your cards on turn 1 and turn 2, and then when they try and respond to you with their Glowfly Swarm on, turn 3 or turn 4 or whatever they've ramped into it with, you're then just able to blow it out with like an Altruist Twin Slice afterwards. Like if you're going to be slower than that, it doesn't really do anything.
Oh yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, it's not what you want to do, but if Bunnyhoppor didn't have the Altruist in hand, this would look a lot worse, in my opinion, because yes, it would be a different card, but I'm just saying, like, if he still had another expensive card in hand, then he's in just as much, if not more, trouble, whereas at least this means he doesn't, a lot of the time, just die to a Glowfly, which can happen if you've got a bad enough opening hand. Also, just want to double check, actually, because I have... silly. Yeah, Jarla is running the double Savage Roar version as well, with only 1 Rising Wind. So there's just that little bit more consistency in the Savage Roar draw, and also that small level of fear factor of just sometimes you just die versus Druid, even if you look healthy, because they just have double Savage Roar.
And here's the problem now, because Jarla has Coin Innovate available, he can just, race the Altruist, essentially. There's not going to be the answer available to it unless Twin Slice does come off the top.
And no minions in this hand is pretty good for Jarla, honestly. Means he can... the Coin Innovate isn't detrimental to the Glowfly as it is with some hands.
He might feel just so not under pressure here that he just doesn't even want to go for it, though, having taken so little damage in the early game. The curve does look strong, though. Coin Innovate Glowfly into Overgrowth into Mount Seller.
Wait, you're a long way away from that, though. You've got a lot of turns to fill.
So many contradictions.
What? Coin
Oh,
Innovate...
sure. Yeah. No, you're right. I was looking at it the other way. I was just going to say, though, I think actually, going off what you said about not feeling under pressure, I actually think he could do the slower thing and just go for the Overgrowth this turn.
Yeah.
So many contradictions.
You've got to ask yourself the question, though, like, what cards are in my opponent's hand if they've had this slow of a start, right? The cards that have been there since the beginning, the three on the right that have been there since the start, since turn 1 and turn 2, I think. Like, what cards are they?
Skull, Glavebound, Warglaves.
Right.
Sure, Altruist, but yeah, Metamorphosis. You just look at it like those
Blade
right?
Bounds. Volpera Scoundrels.
Decision point here, and it looks like he's going to go for it.
Yeah, I like this. This is just what this hand communicates to me. This just seems to be the curve.
Or the Druid hand's whispering to you. Also, the fact that Jarla has double crystal power is actually very powerful versus Demon Hunter. You can snap remove a lot of the threats because they're 2 health, or you can heal up from being burst down or pressured in the early game. So, pretty nice card, honestly, in this matchup.
I grow impatient.
Oh, it just doesn't add up, does it? Like, Chaos Strike looks nice because he can kill a minion, but the rest of his turn is nothing.
It's just another reason why I like doing it now. Like, not only are you playing around Altruist to an extent, although technically, like, 1 extra mana just doesn't really do anything, because either they can Twin Slice to clear your board or they can't. Like, being able to play 1/1-drop doesn't actually make a difference in this scenario. But, most importantly, you're racing the Warglaves of Azzinoth. Like, that card's just not playable this turn, whereas if you put the players in a situation where it is, and you've left that Battle Fiend up because you've just gone, like, Coin Overgrowth on the previous turn, for example, well, then you're just getting absolutely spanked by this Battle Fiend the turn after, right? As it just keeps growing and growing and growing after Bunny clears the board.
Yeah. It was interesting as well there. I did wonder if I was looking at Shadow Weaver, and then this turn, and just to get an extra, get like a slightly more threatening minion on board. Obviously, the Volpera still kills 2/2s, but what if they get both? I guess is more my point. But now still going for Volpera. There were some cards that would help out with that Altruist turn next turn. Or he did get the Immolation Aura, which means he can deal 2 to this board.
The Innovate draw as well for Jarla is insane with the curve that he played.
Yeah.
The one downside of the curve I was talking about is that he only had Mount Seller Moonfire at the time I suggested it. But I was going to say he had multiple draws to find Bog Beams or things like that. But best case scenario is Innovate, because then that activates the crystal powers that are in his hand as well.
Yeah, and because the strength is next turn, I'd like Jarla to ignore
the time run
this Volpera. Hit the damage. You know, in almost every outcome, Bunnyhoppor's going to trade this Volpera into a 2/2 anyway. So, the fact that you have Moonfire to finish off the minion, with the Mount Seller, with the Innovate, with the Crystal Power, like you said, it's just the turn's so powerful. I was pretty much asking Bunnyhoppor to do something incredible here.
I think if I was in Jarla's position, I would expect there is 0% chance that 2/3 goes into a 2/2 from Bunnyhoppor's side. I think if Bunny did not have a Warglaves in his hand from Jarla's perspective right now, that would be shocking, based on the way this game has panned out. But, for the same reason, I'm still totally fine with it, because you can still take care of that 2/3 next turn based on your planned turn.
Yeah, it can die anyway, right?
Yeah. Okay. Nice. I guess this does play around Bog Beam with Mount Seller, right? To take the value trade like that,
Right.
to an extent.
And also it means if you're expecting Mount Seller, you have an extra swing of the glaives to kill the maybe more important minions you need to kill. As opposed to a 2/2, right?
curious.
That's
That
a very
Mount
good
Seller is
point,
a bit
yeah.
pesky. They can summon some pretty scary stuff, especially when you look at, say, Cobra, for example.
Yeah, you're right. That is a very good point. Big reason to hold on to the Warglaives there. This makes perfect sense.
There's Chaos Strike with that Warglaives, there's Immolation Aura to help.
So
Bunnyhoppor actually has some powerful responsive
contradictions.
plays here.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think Jarla should care. I think at this point in the game, it's as good as it's ever going to look versus Demon Hunter. I think you just go with the Mount Seller.
Standard time run low.
Yeah, Bunnyhoppor just pretty much playing control Demon Hunter right now.
Curious.
And I think if Jarla tries to do anything too fancy, it's just going to give Bunnyhoppor more time.
Mm.
Because Overflow is going to overdraw him unless he dumps a load of cards. He's going to go for Overflow. This gives him a bigger Mount Seller turn, of course, but it's a bigger Mount Seller turn next turn. And it's not like he had like 2 Bog Beams in hand that he couldn't really utilize with the Mount Seller either.
Right.
This scares me.
Demons? Demons.
Bunnyhopper's hand still scares me as well. There's just nothing to do in it. Apart from, like, now he can decide to start pushing some damage if he really wants to, but, like, what does that really do for him in this spot where the Druid's at 30? Sure, you've just seen 1 overflow, but you haven't
I
seen any
grow
crystal powers yet. There's still the
impatient.
second one remaining. You know, there's still big Iron Barks to come down over the course of the game, and you don't have Kane in hand. Like, I don't really think the damage plan really gets there for Bunnyhoppor right now. So, like, is this just a control hand? Is that what's happening?
Maybe. Yeah, and also he probably doesn't. A lot of the time in these situations, you want to go, oh well, why don't you get the Metamorphosis live, right? Because it's 5 mana, you don't want to do much. That's a lot of mana to spend. But the hero power is actually useful because he has Warlock,
Yeah.
right? So it's kind of weird to consider that is that what you do. Bunnyhoppor just didn't taking it, just saying yes, I do want to spend the mana this way. He could have gone for Shadow Weaver, but again, as I mentioned, that gives targets for Bog Beam. So we're having a weird matchup where both players don't want to play stuff.
I supply only
But it's also quite
the
telling that he chose to use the hero power for +1 damage, which he didn't end up using, and not shoot the watermelon that turn, because he didn't just want to shoot it at his opponent's face, right?
Yep.
I think this is coming into play as a board control tool.
Job's done. Also, a bit of a big deal as well is Jarla burnt his Glowfly number 2.
Yep.
Which means Glowfly Soul in 1 turn just isn't a thing anymore.
So now Immolation Aura plus Hero Power can clear most of this up. He then has Chaos Strike alongside that to get the 5 attack Warglaives, which I believe is the remainder that he will need on the Mount Seller at that point.
Demons.
Is there an Altrice way to do it alternatively?
Or not really, he doesn't have the mana, right? Everything's too expensive.
Yeah, it looks like Chaos Strike, Immolation, and Hero Power to me, just on the surface.
Looks good, and he only has to use 1 swing of his weapon to kill this 12 health Mount Seller.
Yeah.
That's a victory.
He will likely then keep swinging to clear up some other
Yep.
minions, but
Just
It
he
is a
doesn't have
big
to
win.
take 7 each time.
right.
What a strange game of Hearthstone.
It's a full clear as well with the Umberwing coming down at the end, I think, right? Because Chaos Strike is buffing him +2, Umberwing will buff him +1
Yeah.
again.
Annoyingly, the order though for the pesky porcupine killing off these 1/1s.
Yeah.
Okay, only killed 1.
Alright. Control Demon Hunter achieved.
Jarla's now on the burst plan to finish off Bunnyhopper's 10 health he has left suddenly.
Yep. Yeah, just minion, Soul of the Forest. Just the last
Yeah.
things he has left in his hand.
I mean, he might get there.
Weird game.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't see that actually. Jarla plays double soul.
Yeah, he
more
plays double
frustrating
sum.
not to have burnt that exact Glowfly Swarm number 2.
Right.
Shadow Weaver, Shadow Weaver. Race now.
Yeah, Altruist doesn't quite work again because again, Bunnyhoppor's just drawn like 0 cheap cards this game.
And the Shadow Weavers do just lock out lethal, right? Because it's not double Savage Roar isn't enough.
Mm-hmm.
Demons.
I like it.
Demons.
Good chunk of damage too. Next turn.
Right.
Is it cold in the shadows?
How committed
Short.
is Bunny to this control line? Okay, I was going to ask the question of whether he held on to the Battle Fiend because it was his only good Altruist card in his hand right now, but he's not that committed to this control line.
Right. And also, he still has Skulls, he still has Twin Slices, right? There's just one good draw off the top, and his Altruist is looking nice anyway.
Overgrowth is the draw.
4 mana draw a card.
Set that Bog Beam now.
Crystal Power, Bug, but he can play all of his cards. Have to.
I don't know how long this can keep working for Bunnyhoppor because Jarla's deck is extremely threat dense. He still has the Ysera, he still has a Kael'thas in there, which we're not seeing that often. He still has a second Mount Seller that he can draw as well.
Oh right, he didn't burn one, did he?
Don't think so.
For some reason I thought he burnt one off Jungle, but
Contradictions.
he did. I think it's okay to pass here. That's all gonna get him 2/2/2s, treants if that bird is killed. Bunnyhoppor also can't really ignore it. I guess he goes Shadow Weaver again. Maybe he gets the Warglaives equipped.
Well, he can also Hero Power it.
Demons.
No, it doesn't quite work. Can't get the 2 Outcasts to come down. No, he can, right? Can Hero Power it, Altruist, Battle Mage for Shadow Weaver the face instead. That's a full clear.
True.
I grow impatient.
I guess, like, is he likely to be able to do that next turn anyway, but he'll have Warglaives equipped?
Time grows short.
Is there likely to be a board he needs to do it to next turn? If he does it now, just has the minions in play.
That's true. And he's just seen double Crystal Power, so even these minions look fairly safe now.
Yeah.
Especially with the Bug Beam.
Is it cold in the shadows?
Fires of vengeance burn bright.
Wow. How many cards remaining? 8 cards remaining. 1 is Kael'thas, 1 is Mount Seller. I believe it's the Ysera that went to the discard.
Oh, was it
possibly.
Ysera?
Maybe that's
that
what you
got
were thinking
burned?
of.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. And I felt like something got burned.
And now it's just go time. And suddenly, in what looks like one of the weirdest games of Demon Hunter versus Druid I've ever seen, Bunny is just miles ahead.
Well, at least he can play a big taunt. King is gone. Oh, it would be big enough for that board, right? Wow, I kind of half forgot about the damage from the Clavebound. Insane. Bunnyhoppor takes the win in the strangest fashion I've ever seen in that matchup. It does mean he's going to go 3-1 over Jarla. A pretty nice win there for him. Again, not the largest impactful matches we've got coming up for you today or tomorrow, but still a good match, and especially the way it ended there. That was just a weird game of Hearthstone. I don't really know how else to put it.
Yeah, that was really sweet. That, makes up for the potential miss lethal, because for Bunny to win that game of Hearthstone with that hand against Fungal into Coin, Innovate, Glowfly Swarm, into Overgrowth, into Mount Seller +3 spells. How do you win that game of Hearthstone without any pressure on turn one as
Right.
Demon Hunter? Bunnyhoppor just demonstrating that the cards, if you just readjust your thinking just a little bit, can actually just be very effective control cards as well. Metamorphosis and Warglaives can kill a lot of minions if you are so inclined.
Yeah, I mean, even if you just said, okay, well, Metamorphosis is 1 mana, deal 5 to a minion, still 1 mana, deal 5 to a minion, right? That's still a very, very good card or ability. But we are going to be moving on into our next match, and it is going to be Viper versus RDU. And this is the one Division B match we have today, and this could have some implications for these players. It's mainly RDU here. Viper going to have his Demon Hunter banned out, and RDU having his Druid banned out here for Viper, who's going to be on Hunter, Mage, Rogue against Warrior,